Hey there everyone. So today we are talking about color, and we're going to do some fun little studies, and they're kind of reminiscent of what we did at the beginning of the semester when we talked about mark making. This is what we did for drawing 1, and then for drawing 2 we got a little more experimental. So for the drawing 1 class we have these Craypaw Expressionist oil pastels. They're pretty inexpensive, but they're still fairly decent quality, and they're just something fun to kind of play with for a really low cost into color. For the advanced drawing 2 students, if anybody wanted to use any of your other materials from your other classes or things that you've been wanting to investigate, have at it. Okay, so in the reading, we talked about some color harmonies. So what I'm going to have you guys do is take one of your 11 by 14 sheets of higher quality paper, tear it in half, and then half again, or if you want to cut it with scissors or a razor knife, whatever works best. And then we're going to do some little studies on them, and you'll end up with these cool little like artist trading cards or postcards. So these are the color schemes that we're going to do. I've got a monochromatic cool, so that's a one hue plus a tint, a tone, and a shade, and the hue would have to be one of the cool ones. Monochromatic warm, so sitting in here, one of the warm colors, plus tints, tones, and shades being black, gray, and white. A complementary, which is opposite on the color wheel, so your green and orange, I'm sorry, your green and red, your blue and orange, your yellow and violet. An analogous cool, so sitting next to each other on the color wheel. Analogous warm, sitting next to each other on the color wheel. An analogous with a complement, so let's say I did these as my analogous, and then I chose the orange, so I did blue as some accents, being opposite of orange, using the secondary colors and only the tertiary colors. So I am going to look at some of the example boards that are up on our site in our module, and this one I put up is called Non-Objective Fun, and I just want you to kind of look through some of these for mark making examples to see how you might want to approach making some of your little studies. I'll make one and talk through it, and then the rest I'll just put on time lapse and then show you a still of them, but see if there's some little fun designs that are interesting to you, or do your own visual research and find some different ways to work through these. I also have in the mark making section some other little studies. So I'll give you some good places where you can start to kind of look at some options. Let me see in here. So let's go back to the non-objective fun, and I'm going to look at something kind of like this, so they're just like little color blocks. So I'm not trying to copy this artist's work, I'm just trying to use it as reference. You can see that these are just done on postcard, index cards, or maybe they're old library cards, I'm not sure. It's pretty cool. Okay, so like I said, I'll just do the first one, and maybe I'll start with the analogous with a complement of accents. I'm going to put these out of the way. And then, like I said, I'll finish the rest up, and then I'll just time lapse those. So if you want, you can tape out your edges so that they have a really nice border, and then peel them up. But I think I'm going to just kind of like free float mine, kind of like this example, but not go all the way edge to edge. So analogous with a complement. So I think I'm going to do cool analogous. So I'm going to grab these guys. I'm going to get my tints, my tones, and my shades. And then I'm not sure yet. So the red would be opposite the green, and the orange would be opposite the blue. So I'll decide in a little bit which one I might use for my pops of color. So I'll put those back for now. And I'm just going to try and kind of play with them and see how they work. So they're basically glorified crayons. And you want to layer them and layer them and layer them. I'm using the white kind of as a mixer. I'm going to use some of my other materials from the class, and I'm going to use a 2B. And we're just going to make some really fun kind of patterns. And just try some different things. See what happens in an experimental way. If I put the pastel over the graphite, it gets a little smudgy. Kind of activates that graphite. So these don't need to take a long time. They're just, you know, kind of like these little fun playgrounds where I'm going to kind of layer and see if I can make something cool. So a lot of the time this semester, we've been talking about observational drawing, and that has its place, and we've worked on it to learn sighting and measuring and all of that, but sometimes drawing is just really beautiful marks, kind of adding together to do some fun things. So I'm just kind of playing with these. And seeing how they could maybe make some different kind of non-objective spaces. So these oil pastels, again, they're just really inexpensive and just a neat way to try to play with color, just kind of as a little introduction. Okay, so then that's my analogous. Balance that little baby blue right there. And when we do our next project, we're going to use these as like little studies to help us figure out how we want to do a more resolved study. So the idea here was analogous with a complement accent. So at this point, the opposite of green is red and the opposite of blue is orange. So I have to kind of decide which one I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do the orange. No, I'm going to do the red. No, I'm going to do pink. Pink is a family of red. It's a tint of red because it has white in it, but it's still the opposite of green. So I think I'm going to use that one. I might scrape off some of this right here because I think it got really muddy. So you can see I just took all that pigment off with my ruler. And I'm going to maybe try it in pink. And then with these oil pastels, they will kind of dry and then, or kind of dry. And then you can draw back into them tomorrow and they can be brighter. Tomorrow or the next day. They don't actually dry, they like sink into the surface of the paper. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. So I'll do the rest on time lapse, but hopefully you have fun. They don't need to take long, but we will have 8 of these little studies when we get back together. Add a little more pink. So really use those examples for visual reference and visual researching, but then make sure, you know, you're just kind of making your own thing. You're just using those as a jumping off point. Okay, I will see you guys in a little bit. I'm going to turn this off and I'll start the time lapses.